You were born with a mind, but you were not born knowing how to use it. You inherited emotions, but you were not born with control over them. You came into this world raw, a spark of potential buried beneath layers of instinct, environment, fear, and suggestion. And the man or woman who fails to master the inner battlefield will forever be a slave on the outer stage of life. The truth is this: the truly rich, those who rise above the noise, the drama, the petty affairs of the masses, they move not by reaction but by intention. They speak less than they think. They act less from emotion and more from clarity. They build not with hands alone, but with thought, with vision, with silence before movement. And here lies the secret they rarely share. Wealth in all forms is not first earned, it is first controlled, internally, quietly, relentlessly. You will never hear this in the marketplace. You will not find it taught in schools, and yet it is the one law of personal power that makes all others possible. He who governs himself governs the world. Most people are not poor because they lack opportunity. They are poor because they are emotionally weak. They let their feelings do the deciding. They speak too soon, they fear too loud, they crave too much. They panic at failure and intoxicate themselves at the first sign of success. And so life jerks them around like a leaf in the storm, not because the storm is strong, but because their roots are shallow. Detachment is the root, discipline is the trunk, decision is the branch, and destiny is the fruit. If you fail to plant the right seed in your mind, you will harvest confusion. But if you plant command, you will harvest control. Let us define it clearly. Emotional detachment does not mean apathy, it does not mean withdrawal, it does not mean coldness, it means command. It means you do not give your emotional reactions the steering wheel. You do not give your enemies your peace. You do not give the outer world the power to provoke the inner chaos. When a man detaches, he sees with greater clarity. He thinks beyond the impulse. He acts beyond the crowd. He becomes the calm in the storm, the eye of clarity in a spinning world of chaos. And make no mistake, calmness is not passivity. It is precision. It is control. It is the invisible mark of those who lead in silence while others scream for attention. I tell you plainly, if you are ruled by emotion, you are ruled by others. And if you are ruled by others, you will never rule your world. You must master the law of mental neutrality. What is it? It is the ability to stand in the center of your own storm and say, I will not move unless I decide to move. It is the discipline to respond instead of react. It is the wisdom to say, this feeling is real, but it is not final. This emotion exists, but it is not law. I am the law. Most will never know this power. They will follow the path of emotional slavery. They will rise and fall with moods. They will seek validation in every gesture, approval in every glance, applause in every word. And when applause doesn't come, they will shrink. When rejection arrives, they will retreat. When failure knocks, they will fold. All because they never detached the engine of their destiny from the wheel of emotion. You were not born to be driven by the noise outside. You were born to command the silence within. Let us speak now of mental discipline, the second law of all lasting success. Discipline is the mother of direction. It is the invisible architecture behind every fortune, every empire, every transformation of man. Without discipline, the mind leaks energy. Without discipline, the body serves chaos. Without discipline, the vision fades and the will weakens. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is alignment. It is the act of bringing the scattered powers of thought, emotion, desire, and time into a single, sharp, unbreakable line aimed at a definite purpose. Every great man I have studied, every industrial titan, every leader of movements, every master of money, they all possessed a steel-willed discipline that moved with quiet ferocity. They woke up when they didn't want to. They worked when they didn't feel like it. They created when they were tired. They didn't wait for motivation. They moved from intention. And that, my friend, is the secret edge most people never develop, the ability to act from principle, not from mood. What does that mean in practical terms? It means you do what needs to be done, regardless of how you feel. It means you do not wait to feel inspired. You create the inspiration through action. You do not ask your emotions for permission. You instruct them. You say, here is the goal. Here is the path. Get in line or get out of the way. Self-command begins when self-negotiation ends. And self-negotiation ends the moment you decide that your feelings are not the leaders of your life, they are your servants. Now let us climb to a higher place, the peak of the inner mountain, and speak of the ultimate lever, thought mastery. For all that we have said, detachment, discipline, they exist only to serve the throne of thought. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Your outer world is a mirror of your inner state. Your results are a photograph of your thought patterns. Nothing you possess was created outside of your dominant mental habits. Your income, your relationships, your health, your reputation, all of them, without exception, are the harvest of your thinking. And here lies the brutal truth. If your thinking is sloppy, your life will be messy. If your thinking is reactionary, your results will be temporary. If your thinking is foggy, your path will be aimless. But if your thinking is precise, so too will be your results. If your thinking is clean, so too will be your environment. If your thinking is rich, so too will be your future. You must build the mind like a fortress. Thought must become your sword and your shield. Every morning you must decide what thoughts may enter. You must act like a gatekeeper to your own consciousness. You must ask, is this thought useful? Is this thought mine? Does this thought build or does it destroy? The great enemy of the thinking man is suggestion, the invisible poison of public opinion, media influence, cultural hypnosis, and emotional contagion. Most men do not think, they absorb, they echo. They conform, they follow. But the man who will rise above the common fate must rebel not outwardly with noise, but inwardly with thought. You must dare to examine every belief. You must refuse to accept the thoughts handed to you by people who are not living the life you want. You must build a new internal world, thought by thought, belief by belief, command by command, until your inner world is more powerful than any outer circumstance. The moment you realize that you can choose your thoughts, you begin to shape your destiny. And when that day comes, when you detach from the pull of emotions, when you rise with daily discipline instead of drifting with impulse, when you select your thoughts with the precision of a sculptor carving stone, you will become dangerous. Not to others, but to every excuse that ever kept you small. You will become an unmoved mover in your own life. You will possess a power that no recession can steal, no betrayal can break, no chaos can shake. You will have become what few ever do, the master of yourself. And in mastering yourself, you will have unlocked the final secret of all wealth, the secret that rich people never tell you. Power comes before profit. Control comes before cash. Inner order creates outer abundance. There is a secret pact among the powerful, an unspoken rule of the truly wealthy, not in coin alone, but in command. And that pact is this: the external game is always secondary. The real game, the real war, the real conquest is internal. The rich, in their silence, in their calmness, in their refusal to explain, reveal more than they admit. For the one who does not flinch under pressure, who does not react to insult, who does not explain his movements, that one holds power. That one moves in alignment with principle, not popularity. That one is free. But freedom, my friend, has a price. And that price is detachment from the things that enslave the average man. The need to be liked, the compulsion to defend oneself, the addiction to emotional drama. These are the invisible chains that bind men to mediocrity. They trade their willpower for validation. They abandon purpose in pursuit of applause. They sell their future for the comfort of fitting in. Rich people, truly rich in spirit, in command, in destiny, know this. To own the world, you must first stop needing it. The moment you need nothing from others, you become dangerous. You cannot be bribed, distracted, or bought. And so you rise not by shouting louder, but by outlasting everyone who lacks that inner control. Let me tell you plainly, success does not respond to emotion. It responds to order. The marketplace does not care about your feelings. It does not pity your struggle. It does not bend to your moods. It bends to your mastery, and mastery begins in the mind. Do not be deceived by appearances. Do not envy the man who flashes wealth but trembles in the silence of his own thoughts. Do not admire the one who commands attention but lacks command over his own desires. The truly powerful are not always loud. They are not always visible, but they are always in control. Now let us speak of control not over others, but over self. And let us begin with the greatest battlefield of all, the emotional body. Every man is born with feelings, but few are born with the ability to rule them. And so, emotion becomes the master of the untrained mind. The man feels fear and believes it, he feels anger and acts on it. He feels sadness and collapses beneath it. He becomes a puppet on the strings of sensation, forgetting that emotions are messengers, not masters. Emotions are not facts, they are signals, and you must learn to interpret them, not obey them. Imagine this: two men stand before the same storm. One panics, curses the rain, and waits for it to pass. The other builds shelter, studies the clouds, and moves forward in silence. The storm does not choose who to bless, it tests both. But only one has trained himself to respond, not react. Only one has mastered the principle of neutrality. Neutrality does not mean indifference, it means strength. It means you are no longer a slave to circumstance. You see the problem and say, very well, let me think. You feel the fear and say, interesting, let me examine. You receive the insult and say, irrelevant, let me proceed. And with that single act, the pause, the breath, the moment of chosen response, you become something most men never do, a sovereign mind. Let us speak now of sovereignty, for that is what detachment truly grants you. The sovereign man does not chase praise, he does not flee criticism. He stands not because he is unfeeling, but because he is unmoved. The man who is unmoved controls time. He is not rushed, he is not impulsive, he does not jump at the first opportunity, nor does he flinch at the first rejection. He watches, he calculates, he prepares, and when he strikes, he does not miss. That is why the emotionally reactive man is forever poor, because his time is owned by distraction, his focus is owned by fear, and his choices are owned by others. You cannot build an empire with scattered thoughts. You cannot lead a company with unstable moods. You cannot forge a legacy with an undisciplined spirit. And yet, this is what most attempt. They chase wealth before they chase wisdom. They pursue results before they pursue resilience. They want cash before they have conquered themselves. They want what the rich have, but not the detachment, the silence, the self-command that the rich live by. Let me now tell you of one of the richest men I have ever studied. Not rich by bank balance alone, but rich in mastery, rich in direction, rich in effectiveness. He rose before dawn, not because he loved waking early, but because he had trained his mind to obey the vision. He wrote his plans before the world began speaking. He thought in silence while others scrolled. He responded to setbacks with strategy, not sulking. And above all, he understood this law: clarity is a product of detachment. When your emotions rule you, your vision becomes foggy. But when you rule your emotions, you see clearly. And when you see clearly, you make decisions the world cannot understand until they see the results. Now let us examine another principle: response versus reaction. This is the fulcrum of all inner power. A reaction is automatic, it is primal, it is unconscious, it is the punch thrown in haste, the insult fired without thought, the retreat made from fear, the decision made from panic. Reactions are the currency of slaves, those who have not earned the right to pause. But a response, that is the mark of the master. A response is chosen. It is rooted in values. It is born from clarity. It is crafted in silence. It is delivered with precision, and it is rare. Let me ask you, when was the last time you truly responded instead of reacting? When was the last time you paused and thought, what would the master within me do? Not, what do I feel like doing right now? The man who lives by response becomes untouchable, for you cannot offend him, you cannot rattle him, you cannot lure him with bait. He sees your move, smiles inwardly, and proceeds on his path. This is why rich people never tell you the truth, not because they are hiding it, but because they know you wouldn't believe it. They know you want tactics, tricks, shortcuts, but the real wealth is inner. The real success is invisible, and the greatest strategy of all is self-command. Let us now consider another pillar: definiteness of purpose. For without a clearly defined aim, discipline is impossible, detachment is meaningless, and thought becomes a wandering ghost. Definiteness of purpose is the backbone of success. It is the single decision that organizes your entire life. It answers the question, what am I building? What am I becoming? What must I protect my mind for? A man with no purpose will entertain every emotion, but a man with a definite purpose will dismiss distractions like flies from his path. Why? Because he knows what he must protect. And you will only protect what you deeply value. Do you value your peace? Then you will not let petty people steal it. Do you value your time? Then you will not waste it explaining your greatness to doubters. Do you value your future? Then you will guard your mind like a fortress, allowing in only those thoughts, habits, and people that align with the vision. Success, then, is not something you chase. It is something you align with. And alignment begins the moment you say, this is where I am going. Everything else is noise. You must treat your emotions like employees, not employers. They report to you, they do not command you. You may feel the fear, you may hear the anger, you may notice the doubt, but you say, thank you for your input. The decision has already been made. And then you move. You move through resistance, you move through criticism, you move through loneliness. And in that movement, you find a strength that no one can give you and no one can take. You will discover, as every master eventually does, that the true war was never against the world, it was always against the scattered self. The battlefield is not your environment, it is not your competitors, it is not the economy, nor the critics, nor the family who didn't believe in you. It is your own untrained thoughts. It is your scattered emotions, it is your unrefined habits. And until you defeat those, you will never win any outer war. The wealth you seek is already present, but not in cash. It lives in clarity. It hides inside structure. It waits in solitude for the one prepared to stop reacting and start building. And most will never taste it, not because they were denied, but because they never claimed it from within. You cannot fake this path. You cannot buy your way into mental mastery. You must earn it moment by moment, thought by thought, decision by decision, until the soul becomes steel and the will becomes law. And so, I ask you, what do you allow into your mind when no one is watching? What do you rehearse in your thoughts? Doubt or dominance, reaction or response, excuses or execution? For your dominant mental habit will become your dominant life result. You cannot think weak and live strong. You cannot think scattered and build solid. You cannot think dependent and rise independent. The masters, the truly wealthy in spirit, have long known this. They do not surround themselves with noise. They do not drown in excess. They do not chase 100 distractions. They choose their thoughts the way a jeweler selects diamonds, carefully, precisely, with full awareness of the value. And now we arrive at the next sacred principle, autosuggestion. Autosuggestion is the controlled, repeated feeding of thought into the subconscious until it becomes reality. Most people are victims of negative autosuggestion. They rehearse failure. They repeat internal dialogues like, I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, it's too late, it's too hard, they're better than me. They hypnotize themselves into mediocrity. They train their minds to expect defeat, and then they call it reality. But the disciplined mind, the trained thinker, uses autosuggestion as a weapon. He writes the vision and repeats it daily. He affirms the standard, not the struggle. He feeds his subconscious with images of victory, phrases of power, and intentions of greatness until it becomes the only outcome possible. Autosuggestion is not fantasy. It is engineering. It is mental architecture. The thoughts you impress upon your mind with repetition become your identity, and identity governs action. If you believe you are weak, your actions will align. If you believe you are destined to rise, your behavior will follow. And belief, hear this, well is not born of hope, it is born of repetition. You do not need to wait for faith, you can program it. You become what you consistently tell yourself you are, so speak accordingly. Let the internal voice declare, I am sovereign, I am self-commanded, I am disciplined, I am unmoved by pettiness, I am guided by purpose, I am detached from chaos, I am aligned with vision, I am the architect of my fate. Say it, write it, repeat it, build it into the walls of your mind so when doubt knocks, it finds no opening. When fear rises, it finds no welcome. When the world screams, your inner voice whispers louder. Do not underestimate this. The rich may show you their homes, their cars, their investments, but they will rarely show you the real asset, the inner structure, the mind wired with calm precision. The discipline so deep it functions without thought. The clarity so unshakable it survives attack. The detachment so complete it cannot be baited. And now, my friend, we turn to one of the highest laws of all, the principle of thought first. This law governs all other laws. It precedes every action, every word, every outcome. Thought is the seed. The harvest is circumstance. And whatever you're living today, yes, even your struggles began in your thinking yesterday. There is no escaping this. There is no bypassing the law. Thought comes first, always. You cannot build success with poverty thought. You cannot build strength with victim thought. You cannot build leadership with follower thought. And you cannot build wealth while mentally kneeling before the opinions of others. You must decide clearly, relentlessly, irrevocably what kind of mind you are building, and then feed it only the thoughts that belong there. Do you want to be rich in time? Then think structure. Do you want to be rich in peace? Then think control. Do you want to be rich in wealth? Then think value, how to create it, deliver it, multiply it, not how to look successful, but how to become invaluable. Let your thoughts be tools, not toys. Let them be blueprints, not noise. Let them serve purpose, not pity. And once thought becomes first, once you've trained the mind to respond from clarity, not craving, then and only then does your outer world obey you. You will start to notice that opportunities appear. Why? Because your mind is now aligned with vision. You will see what others miss. Why? Because your mental filter is no longer clouded with emotion. You will act when others hesitate. Why? Because your thoughts are governed by purpose, not fear. This is the secret that rich people never tell you. They don't think better thoughts because they're rich. They are rich because they think better thoughts. First, consistently, relentlessly. And now we approach one of the most difficult but rewarding truths of this entire philosophy. You must kill your old self. You cannot carry weakness into greatness. You cannot take the emotional reactivity, the scattered habits, the need for comfort into the future you claim you want. There must be a death, a symbolic death of the past self, the one who waited for permission, the one who begged for support, the one who needed everything to be perfect. That self must die. For the disciplined mind cannot emerge while the old mind still runs the show. You must let go of the old emotional habits, like dead weight. You must silence the internal critic with new commands. You must starve the distraction by feeding only the vision. And this process is not easy. It is not soft. It is not gentle. But neither is greatness. And so we come to the final inner commitment, control. The man who controls himself controls the game. He controls his tongue, he controls his schedule, he controls his reactions, he controls his environment, he controls his energy, he controls his destiny. Control does not mean rigidity. It means direction. It means nothing within you acts without your permission. It means you are the king within your kingdom, not the servant, not the victim, not the audience, but the architect, the commander, the initiator. And once you reach that level of self-mastery, the external world bends. Not instantly, not without resistance, but inevitably, because all outer chaos must eventually obey inner order. And then when you walk into a room, people feel something they cannot explain. It is not your clothing, not your words, not your status. It is your energy, your discipline, your detachment, your command. And that inner presence is what the rich really have. It is the one thing they never talk about because they don't need to. It speaks for itself. There comes a time when philosophy must become fire, when theory must become tension, when words must burn into decisions. You have listened, you have understood, but now you must become. Because it does not matter how much truth you know. If you are still ruled by the same emotions, if you still fold at the first sign of resistance, if you still seek validation over vision, you have learned nothing. So let this be your reckoning. Stand up in your own life. Declare war on mental weakness. Starve your distractions. Exile your excuses. Silence the voice that keeps you small. Burn the bridges to emotional slavery. And begin the only journey that has ever mattered, the inner conquest. This is your empire, and no one else can build it. You must rise each morning with a single governing thought. I command my mind today, or it will command me. And you must say it again and again until it becomes the rhythm of your identity. You will not control your life until you first control your breath, the first act of returning to yourself. You will not build your fortune until you build your morning, the first battle of every day. You will not gain power until you stop wasting it on arguing, proving, explaining, reacting, chasing noise. Listen to me now, for this is the sentence that could split your entire life into a before and after. If you cannot hold your mind steady, you cannot hold your future. This is why most never rise. They do not lack goals. They lack stillness. They cannot sit with uncertainty. They cannot move through fear without speaking. They cannot be doubted without crumbling. They have never trained themselves to endure the silence that separates ordinary from extraordinary. But you must be different. You must become the one who moves without needing permission, who advances without needing praise, who chooses thoughts with the care of a master strategist. Let others scroll. You write your vision. Let others explain. You build in silence. Let others fear. You prepare. Let others hope. You execute. Because the world does not reward potential, it rewards command. And there is no greater command than command of self. Now hear this final truth, and burn it into your blood. The rich are not hiding anything from you. They are simply living by laws you have not yet mastered. They don't beg. They don't chase. They don't flinch. They don't drown in drama. And they don't advertise their inner strength. They wear it like armor, invisible to the blind, undeniable to the awake. They have killed the needy self. They have buried the emotional child. They have silenced the anxious noise. They have replaced it all with clarity, order, fire, and calm. That's the wealth you never see. And that is what you must now become. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when conditions improve. Now, right now, you decide. Not to feel your way into greatness, but to train your way into it. Not to wait for belief to appear, but to repeat your way into it. Not to be driven by the moods of others, but to lead with your own discipline. And if you fall because you will, you rise again, not from emotion, but from principle. You speak to your mind as a general to his troops. We rise because it is what we do. No drama, no delay, no doubt. The journey from reaction to response, from chaos to command, from confusion to clarity, it is not a path for the many. It is a vow for the few. And if you have listened this far, you are one of the few. Now go, build the inner empire, master the unseen world, and let the outer world bend to your will, not because you chased it, but because you became the kind of person it must obey. Because now you know. Rich people never tell you this, but you'll never need them to. You've become it. You will never conquer the outer world until you have first subdued the chaos of the inner one. Poverty is not merely the absence of money, it is the symptom of a deeper disorder, the disorder of the undisciplined mind, the reactive spirit, the emotion-led existence that drifts like a leaf in the storm. Before a man can earn wealth, he must become wealth in clarity, in conduct, and in consciousness. You are not poor because of where you were born. You are poor because of what you tolerate in the chambers of your own thinking. Let me speak directly, as if your future hangs in the balance, because it does. The man who climbs from despair to dominion is not the man who waits for permission. He is not the man who complains of conditions. He is the man who has killed the weak part of himself and crowned the part that chooses, that focuses, that commands. If you are to leave poverty behind, not just economically, but spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you must understand this great truth. Poverty begins in the mind, and until you correct the errors of your thinking, you will remain enslaved no matter how hard you work. So I speak now to the part of you that is tired of lies, tired of cycles, tired of excuses. I speak to the part that is willing to trade comfort for control, distraction for discipline, emotion for execution. There are 7 fatal mistakes that keep most men poor, not because the world is unjust, but because their own minds remain their greatest enemy. I do not offer sympathy, I offer strategy. I do not offer comfort, I offer confrontation with the truth. And if you are ready, not just to hear these truths, but to act on them, then what follows may very well be the moment your real life begins. Mistake 1. You respond with emotion, not with principle. The man who cannot control his feelings will never control his future. He will sell his peace to anyone who insults him. He will abandon his mission the moment it becomes uncomfortable. He will chase validation like a starving dog chases crumbs. Do not envy the calm man, become him. For calmness is not weakness, it is mastery. It is the product of a mind that no longer negotiates with every feeling it has. You say you want wealth? Then you must stop reacting to life like a child. Children cry when things don't go their way. Children lash out when they feel misunderstood. Children demand that the world accommodate their moods. But the wealthy man, the mentally wealthy man, responds only with reason. He does not argue with fools. He does not allow envy to steer him. He is moved by mission, not emotion. He understands that feelings are guests, not masters. They knock on the door of his attention, but he does not invite them to rule. If you want success, stop reacting to everything. Respond from principle, from purpose, from thought. You do not rise by reacting, you rise by remembering who you are and acting accordingly. Mistake 2. You think success is external. Poverty loves the man who waits. It adores the one who believes the next job, the next government, the next relationship will finally change everything. But the man who becomes rich in mind knows the truth. Nothing outside will ever rescue you. The world will give you nothing you haven't first given yourself in discipline, in clarity, in internal law. If you think a better opportunity will save you, you will keep running in circles. You will chase jobs instead of building vision. You will chase people instead of becoming irreplaceable. You will chase comfort instead of mastering yourself. There is no elevator out of poverty, only stairs, and each step is built with inner change. The man who becomes rich in thought cannot remain poor in life. But the man who is poor in discipline will bankrupt every opportunity he touches. So stop waiting, stop blaming, stop believing that your answer is somewhere outside of you. The only success that endures is the success you create by transforming your thinking. The only wealth that multiplies is the wealth born from inner mastery. When you understand this, you will stop begging life to change and you will begin building yourself into the one who commands it. Mistake 3. You allow distractions to defeat discipline. You cannot serve 2 masters, comfort and greatness, and yet most men try. They say they want success, but they cannot focus for 5 minutes without reaching for their phone. They say they want to escape poverty, but they sell their time to dopamine and drama. Every hour spent in distraction is a brick laid in the walls of your own prison. Poverty does not just feed on failure, it thrives on your inability to direct your attention. Understand this: the rich are not smarter, they are more focused. The wealthy do not have more hours in a day, they have more control over where those hours go. Discipline is not the enemy of freedom, it is the only path to it. You must learn to sit with your boredom and still work. You must learn to say no to noise, not because it is evil, but because your time is sacred. You must train your focus like a warrior trains his sword. You either master your attention or become a slave to everyone who wants it. If your mind is weak, the world will own you. If your mind is strong, you will own your world. Ask yourself, what are you trading your future for? An hour of scrolling? A conversation that leads nowhere? A short-lived feeling of validation? A man who desires greatness must become ruthless about his discipline, not occasionally, but daily, hourly, moment by moment. Mistake 4. You fear being alone with your own mind. The poor man cannot sit still. He fears silence, for it reveals his truth. He fears solitude, for it confronts him with the echo of his wasted time. So he fills his life with noise, with company, with empty movement. But the rich man, the builder of empires, is at home within himself. He walks alone because he knows that every step taken in solitude is a step closer to mastery. Poverty thrives in crowds. Success is forged in silence. The masses look outward, the master looks inward. Until you become comfortable with yourself, you will never command the world around you. Stop fearing your own thoughts. They are not your enemy, they are your tool. Learn to listen, to observe, to redirect them. Solitude is not loneliness, it is laboratory time for the mind. It is where the seeds of vision are planted, where the blueprint of greatness is drawn. You must learn to sit with your ambition like a sculptor sits with a block of marble, in quiet, in patience, in precision. If your mind rebels against stillness, it is because it knows that in silence the truth will be exposed, and that truth may reveal how far you've drifted from the man you were meant to be. But you cannot build power on lies. You must face yourself fully, fearlessly, frequently. Mistake 5. You seek approval instead of results. One of the most common diseases of the mind is approval addiction. It is the drug of the powerless. The man who seeks to be liked more than he seeks to grow will always remain broke, not just in bank account, but in soul. You must decide, do you want applause or do you want impact? Do you want comfort or do you want conquest? Every time you bend your vision to fit another man's opinion, you shrink your destiny. The masses may mock you. Let them. The weak may misunderstand you. Let them. Greatness is not achieved by consensus. It is achieved by conviction. The path to wealth, to mastery, to meaning is often lonely because the crowd prefers mediocrity to truth. They do not hate you. They hate what your discipline reminds them they are not doing. Do not lower your standards for anyone. The moment you do, you betray the part of you that was born to lead. Respect is not given to the agreeable, it is given to the disciplined. You are not here to blend in. You are here to rise, to break through, to build something so unshakable that the world will have no choice but to take notice. Let your work speak so loudly that even your enemies are forced to respect it. Mistake 6. You confuse motion for progress. The tragedy of the struggling man is not that he does nothing, it is that he does many things, none of which lead him forward. He mistakes activity for advancement. He believes that being busy is the same as being productive. But success does not reward the man who moves, it rewards the man who moves with direction. A compass is more valuable than a pair of legs. You say you work hard, and perhaps you do, but work divorced from vision is labor without reward. The ant moves constantly and yet remains close to the dirt. The eagle sits in stillness and yet flies higher than any creature on earth. To rise, you must work. Yes, but that work must be governed by a master plan, by an aim so definite that no wind can sway it. The great mistake is to live reactively, to respond to every call, every crisis, every noise. But success is built by the man who wakes with clarity and works with precision. He does not spend his day responding, he spends it building. And he does not build for applause, he builds for immortality. His plan is not vague, his goal is not flexible. His aim is not dependent on how he feels. It is fixed like a star in the sky, and he moves toward it with tireless resolve. Stop confusing exhaustion with progress. Stop wearing busyness as a badge of honor. The man who builds wealth is not the busiest, he is the most deliberate. He knows that 1 hour of focused work is worth more than 10 hours of distracted motion. He is a strategist of time, a commander of tasks, a builder of empires, one small, specific action at a time. If you do not plan your day, the world will plan it for you, and it will lead you nowhere worth going. Mistake 7. You live by feelings, not by laws. The final fatal mistake, the one that keeps entire generations bound in the invisible chains of poverty, is this. They live by how they feel, not by inner laws. They wait until they feel motivated to move. They wait until conditions are perfect. They wait until their mood aligns with their mission, and in that waiting, their destiny rots. Understand this, success is not emotional, it is architectural. It is not built on passion, it is built on principle. The wealthy man has inner laws. He rises when it is time to rise, not when he feels like rising. He does what must be done, regardless of how uninspired he may feel. He moves from law, not from mood. And that is why he rules, because the universe respects law, not whining. The poor man has no such laws. His emotions are his master. If he is angry, he yells. If he is sad, he stops. If he is afraid, he retreats. If he is lazy, he waits. And so life passes him by not because he lacked talent, but because he lacked rule. You must become your own legislator. You must become your own judge, your own enforcer, your own government. You must build a personal constitution unbreakable and non negotiable. You must say, "This is what I do every day, regardless of feeling. This is who I am, regardless of circumstance." And when you do that, when you stop living by passing moods and start living by permanent laws, you will become a force so rare, so disciplined, so relentless, that the world will have no choice but to make room for your rise. There are only two types of men: those who are governed by their feelings and those who govern them. One is a servant, the other a sovereign. Now hear me, for this is the turning point. If you continue to make these mistakes, you will remain poor. Not because the world is cruel, but because your own choices make you powerless. But if you fix these errors, if you reverse these seven poisons of the mind, then the gates of abundance, peace, and dominion will open wide before you. Poverty ends the moment law replaces emotion in your life. Let us now go deeper beyond the seven mistakes into the construction of the inner citadel, into the laws that govern the wealthy of mind and the strong of spirit. When the mind is ruled by reaction, it is no longer yours. It belongs to the world. To become unstoppable, you must return to a state of mental neutrality, not indifference, but supreme control. You must be able to observe emotion without obeying it. You must witness your own frustration without becoming its slave. You must learn to remain still in thought when the storm outside is violent. Mental neutrality is not passivity, it is power. It is the mind's ability to remain calm under provocation, to remain sharp under pressure, to remain rooted when the winds of life try to bend you. The neutral mind does not mean a dead mind, it means a masterful one, a disciplined one, a royal one. Every great general knows the value of pause. He does not send his troops into battle without thinking. Likewise, you must not send your thoughts into action until they have been tested by reason. The neutral mind is the master's mind, the reactive mind is the slave's. Practice this. When you are insulted, pause. When you are anxious, pause. When you are tempted to abandon your vision, pause. In that pause lives the power to change your life. Calmness is not a personality trait, it is a power skill. It is not something you are born with, it is something you forge through effort and understanding. The calm man is the most dangerous man in the room, for he is never controlled by the room. His calmness is a weapon. It makes him unpredictable, it makes him deliberate. It gives him advantage in every negotiation, every battle, every hour of the day. You must learn this. The more emotionally volatile you are, the more easily you are manipulated. The media manipulates the weak with fear. The marketers manipulate the emotional with urgency. The manipulators of the world prey on the reactive, but no one manipulates the calm. The calm are untouchable. Calmness is clarity, and clarity is cash. Calmness is patience, and patience is profit. Calmness is control, and control is destiny. Build calmness as you would build a muscle through repetition, through resistance, through relentless practice. Train your breathing, train your stillness, train your silence. Stop speaking when you are emotional. Start moving only when you are clear. If you want to rise above the masses, you must master calmness. For in calmness lives the space where all wise decisions are born. Every empire you see was once a thought. Every fortune that exists began as an idea. Every failure that ruined a man began as a single undisciplined thought that was left unchallenged. The principle is this: thought first, feeling later. Logic first, motion later. Law first, action later. When a man thinks first, he rules. When he feels first, he falls. You must become the master of your first thought. You must observe it, interrogate it, test it. You must ask, is this thought worthy of action, or is it an echo of my lower self? Most men never question their thoughts, and so their thoughts enslave them. Their minds become a house with no door. Anything may enter and everything stays. But you must become the gatekeeper of your own mind. You must decide what stays and what is rejected, for your thoughts build your future brick by invisible brick. You must feed your mind with power, with truth, with law, with vision. You must read what strengthens you, listen to what disciplines you, surround yourself with what lifts you into higher thinking. You must make your thoughts so focused, so pure, so sharp, that your enemies cannot predict you and your failures cannot stop you. Now take these principles and hold them tight. Do not merely hear them. Engrave them. Practice them. Make them the backbone of your existence. For the man who masters calmness, who moves from thought and not from feeling, who lives by law and not by accident, that man is no longer poor, even if he has no coin in his pocket. He is rich in spirit, he is rich in clarity, and he is rich in destiny. Now we arrive at the final ascent, the summit where few stand, but all were invited. The previous laws were the foundation, but what remains now is the crown, the final truth. You were not born to survive. You were born to dominate. You were not created to beg for change, but to become it. Poverty is not your inheritance, it is your tolerance. The moment you revoke its right to live in your thoughts, it begins to die in your life. There is a higher law than all the 7 mistakes combined. It is the law of inner government, and without it, no man, regardless of ambition, can escape the gravity of poverty. A man without inner government will always live under the government of others. He will be told when to rise, what to think, how much he's worth, and when he may rest. He will live as a subject, not a sovereign. But the man who builds an inner government, a disciplined council of his will, his logic, and his higher principles, becomes king over every hour of his existence. Inner government means you no longer allow your body to overrule your mind. It means you no longer seek permission to execute what you know must be done. It means your decisions are not made by your environment, but by your constitution. The poor man waits for better conditions. The powerful man writes his laws and lives them without negotiation. Let me be clear. This is not about force. It is about design. A life ruled by inner law is not chaotic, it is deliberate, it is efficient, it is stormproof. And yes, it is lonely, but that solitude becomes strength. That silence becomes strategy. That discipline becomes destiny. Most men walk around governed by impulse, emotion, appetite, and opinion. They are like cities without walls. Every thought enters, every insult wounds, every distraction steals. But a man with inner government is a fortress. He chooses what enters his mind, he chooses what leaves his mouth, he chooses where his time goes, and in that choosing he becomes free. You are not a victim of the world. You are a victim of your own unmanaged power. Govern it or remain governed. Success does not fear pain. It feeds on it. It grows through it. The average man avoids pain, and so he avoids growth. But the great man chooses pain. The pain of discipline over the pain of regret, the pain of silence over the pain of gossip, the pain of loneliness over the pain of betrayal. He understands this timeless principle. Pain is not your enemy. Uncontrolled pleasure is. You want to know why you remain poor? Because you run from the very discomfort that was designed to break your chains. You fear failure, so you never take action. You fear rejection, so you never speak boldly. You fear silence, so you surround yourself with mediocrity. But hear me now, the man who walks into pain with purpose becomes a magnet for power. Your future is locked behind a door labeled discomfort. Only discipline holds the key. Make discomfort your ally. Rise early, speak last. Train when you feel weak, work when you feel doubt. Say no to what tempts and yes to what trains. For every time you do, your soul grows in muscle. And one day you will look in the mirror and see a stranger, stronger, sharper, colder in will, but warmer in purpose. And you will know that poverty no longer recognizes you. You do not rise by effort alone, you rise by vision. What you see inwardly, repeatedly, and intensely, you will eventually create outwardly. But the poor man sees only what is. The wealthy mind sees what can be. Vision is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Without vision, your labor is scattered. Your energy is diffused. Your sacrifices are sporadic. But with vision, every move becomes sacred. Your mind was made to architect the future. If you do not give it a blueprint, it will default to your past. So craft your vision with the care of an artist and the clarity of an engineer. See your ideal self. See the life that honors your gifts. See the results your discipline demands. And see it not once, but daily, relentlessly, vividly. The clearer the vision, the harder it is to quit. But vision without execution is hallucination. So marry the two, the dream and the discipline, the desire and the direction. Wake each day with vision in your mind and fire in your limbs. Execute not because it feels good, but because it fulfills law. Remember, you are not acting out of excitement. You are acting out of oath. Now comes the final law, the one that separates the spiritually rich from the enslaved. The poor man attaches his identity to outcomes. If he wins, he feels powerful. If he loses, he feels worthless. If he is praised, he moves forward. If he is ignored, he falls back. He is not a creator, he is a puppet. But the master of mind understands detachment. He does not tie his worth to results, only to his execution. He does not fear loss, for loss cannot rob a man who is governed from within. He does not crave praise, for praise cannot improve a man who already moves by law. Detach. Detach from applause. Detach from failure. Detach from the need to be understood. Your life is not a popularity contest, it is a war for control of your own kingdom. And that war is won not by winning every battle, but by never retreating from the field. When you detach, you become immune to manipulation. You become free from the fear of opinion. You become indestructible. For no one can take from a man who no longer seeks from the outside what he already commands from within. Now hear me, and let this be your oath, the oath of the one who will no longer walk among the enslaved. I will no longer react, I will respond. I will no longer beg, I will build. I will no longer attach, I will execute. I will no longer fear discomfort, I will harness it. I will no longer follow moods, I will follow mission. I will no longer ask for permission, I will act from law. Poverty dies where purpose is born. And purpose is born the moment a man declares that he will govern himself no matter the noise, no matter the odds, no matter the past. You are that man if you choose to be. Do not just remember these words. Burn them into your flesh, into your minutes, into your silence. Let every step you take from this moment be the step of a man who has buried the old self and risen cold in discipline, hot in spirit, and clear in mind. For the future is not given to the reactive. It is built by the mentally elite. Build yours now and never return to poverty again.